A year and a half ago, my wife and I had that great moment where we brought home our daughter Naya, and we were really excited, and we began making a lot of choices to try to give her the best, brightest, healthiest, happiest future possible. And as you can imagine, that's a lot of choices, including making sure she gets outside and enjoys the beach on a beautiful, sunny day. But the challenging part is that we know that our daughter is born into a new generation, a generation that has a different future than any other generation in American history. In 2005, the New England Journal of Medicine published a study suggesting that this generation, to which my daughter belongs, will be the first generation in American history to have a less healthy, shorter lifespan than their parents. This is a reversal of hundreds of years of fabulous tradition in this country, and it is something that I do not want to choose for my daughter. And I'm sure when she's old enough, she would not want to choose it for herself. So what's causing this? We are going to continue to have huge advances in curing diseases, unequivocally. But the research shows that there's an epidemic that will outpace all those advances. An epidemic rooted in obesity and diabetes and other illnesses. What does that look like? Well, in 1990, these slides will show you what the Centers for Disease Control mapped out. The bright green is good, less than 10% obesity. The less bright green, that limey color, is 10 to 14%. 5 years later, in 1995, we add a color, which is 15 to 19%, and it's half the country. 5 years later, we add another color, which is greater than 20%, that purple color. 5 years later, we had to add 2 colors. We couldn't keep up at 1. We had to add 2, so now we have greater than 30% obesity in the red states. And then if you look now in 2009, this is where we're at. Now look at Colorado, which is the best baby robin's egg blue on this map. That is worse than the worst when we started collecting data. This color wasn't on the map when we started looking at it. So what do we do about this? What do we want to? Well, we always want to blame somebody, and a lot of us want to blame our parents. And the good news for them is we can't. Only 25% of our longevity is driven by our parents. So our moms and dads are really thrilled with this news. So then we have to step back and say, well, who's responsible and how do we change it? And the fact is, I can tell you some ideas, but I want to also say that there's actually a really great success story that maps out what we can do. So who's undone such a mess, such an epidemic? Well, in North Karelia, Finland, in 1970, men my age and older were dying at the greatest rate in the world from cardiovascular disease. They were dropping dead of heart attacks and related incidents. And these communities, this rural community in Finland said, we got to change this. We don't want to accept this as our future. And they set out to say, well, what's causing it? And they discovered they had a love affair with butter. Butter in which they added not butter to their bread, but bread to their butter. They fried cheese in butter. They just loved butter. And they smoked a lot, and they didn't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So they decided to create a new industry. They created an oil like canola oil. They learned how to cook with it. They learned how to produce it. They built their local economy. They also started growing more fruits and vegetables. They reduced tobacco use. And in 20 years, they had the lowest rate of morbidity amongst men in Europe. From worst to best in 20 years. It is possible for us to set a new course. But now I'm very clear that Finland in 1970 is not the United States in 2011. So we have to accept that there's some differences, and we have to move significantly further than what worked then. So what works? Well, we got to change what we're doing today. What we're doing today in the United States is like the carnival game whack-a-mole, where we're walking after disease, bonking them on the head saying, die, go away disease, we're going to cure you. It's not working. We need to stop going after just the diseases once we have them. We need to unplug the machine that's causing them. We need to stop this game. And the way we need to do that is a shift in our view. Right now, we function with a laser vision on curing diseases. And what we've tried to do is make that our prevention approach as well. We are now trying to prevent diabetes. We're trying to prevent cancer. We actually have a long list of things we're trying to prevent, and we have campaigns for each of these. But I'd like to suggest that the failure of these prevention campaigns is they actually aren't that relevant to what we care about at the end of the day. Tonight when you go home, Are you pulling out of your nightstand a menu of all the prevention campaigns that you're thinking about? Are you pulling out a list of, oh, how's my diabetes today? Or how are my lipids? How was my blood pressure? Are you evaluating your day based on your biometrics? Every day, every night? No. So what's relevant? What's relevant to you when you go to bed at night when you reflect on the day? Well, it's a move from a laser focus to a life focus. You think about your life. And you think about what we would like to suggest is your well-being. It's a mix of a variety of things. It's, did your body let you do what you wanted to do? Were you happy or were you sad? Your emotional health. It was about your friends and your work environment. Did you have fun? Were you treated with respect? That's your social environment. It has to do with, were you surrounded by road-raging, congestion, traffic drivers, or did you have a calmer day? Your community environment. These things influence our well-being. So I get that this is not a sexy term, well-being, but the point is it's actually how we think. We may not just use those words. And then the question you may ask is, well, how do you measure well-being? This is an emerging science. It is an emerging science, but the Gallup Healthways Wellbeing Index has now collected over 1 million data points where we can now quantify the economic impact of your well-being, the employees within a company's well-being, and the impact for communities. This is an emerging science, and our goal is, using this research, using these methods, to then reverse the course of decreasing well-being and move us ahead. So then the next question, we need to focus on what's relevant, which is well-being, then we need to figure out how do we change it. So what influences our well-being? It's where we spend our time. Where you spent your day today, where you'll spend it tomorrow. It's the environments in which we spend our time. We would like to think about this as 4 environments. The first one, when you get up in the morning, when your feet hit the floor, is why am I here? What am I going to do with this day? Do I have a sense of purpose? People who have a sense of purpose live longer than those who don't. The second environment is habitat. It's where you spend your time. It's the buildings that you go into. So your home. It's the restaurants you visit. It's your work site. It's the schools that our children attend. Each of those environments triggers us to make a lot of decisions. And so we need to set up our habitats to make healthy choices easy. Third, our social environment, our friends. Nicholas Christakis has done detailed work around the Framingham studies. And the Framingham studies have found that it's not just your friends, but your friends' friends' friends that can have up to a 15% impact on your well-being. Take a moment. Look 3 people down right now. Turn and look. 3 people away from you are influencing your well-being, quite likely, even if you don't know them, because how many of our friends' friends' friends do we know? That's our social network. That's our social environment. The fourth environment is our community. Whether you're 5, 55, or 95, it needs to be safe for you to get out and get around, on foot, on bike. And yet, our communities aren't set up for that. We trap ourselves in our homes when we lose the ability to drive. And people who are isolated live less healthy, whether you're 5 or 95. We also have policies that guide our behavior around tobacco and secondhand smoke. And those community environmental decisions impact our well-being. So again, if we focus on what's relevant, and we think about where that relevance is impacted, our environments, then the question is, how do we change it? We change these environments, but we have to go one step further. You will get up, and if you're like a typical American, you will spend your day within 16 miles of home. 16 miles. Which means, most likely, when you think about your neighbors and your colleagues, your environments are really overlapped. You work, you eat, your kids go to school, all in overlapping ways. Maybe not a perfect overlap, but within a geographic area around us, within our communities, we are overlapping in our environments. And so rather than taking an individual approach to trying to change every single minuscule environment, we need to take a community-based approach that allows us to very quickly start making healthy choices, easy choices. I'm really fortunate to be part of a team of people that are putting this to practice. I worked with AARP and Blue Zones in Albert Lea, Minnesota, a town of 18,000 in rural Minnesota. It's a meatpacking town where they set out to create change. And now we're working in the beach cities near Los Angeles of Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, and Redondo Beach. And what's really important is that we have found some communities that have courageous leadership that want to cooperate across these environments, across these sectors, to make healthy choices easy. So what does it look like? First step is we need to have a menu. A list of common things that a community can do to create change, to set up our environments, to make healthy choices easy. It's a menu that results in all 4 of those places that we're going to go out every day and spend time making healthy choices easy. So let me show you what one community has already done to set up healthy choices. Number 1, we created purpose workshops where people in a matter of hours could go and explore their gifts and spend some time thinking about why am I here and how can I express it, and then talk with their neighbors about how they're going to go out and express those gifts more and live more fully. It looks like going into schools and making sure, first of all, the choices that we put in front of the kids are healthy, but also making sure that we have environments where children learn how to take their own responsibility for their futures and how to make healthy choices. They can learn this from early in life. And we just need to make sure that all of our environments are contributing to their knowledge. Then we got to get kids to start walking to school again. Kids that walk to school have a higher GPA and a lower body mass index, which means they're less likely to have early onset of diabetes, which will completely mess up their longevity. If we start getting kids walking to school again and biking to school, we can set a different course for their future. But we should do something beyond just getting them to walk to school. We have a lot of people who are passionate about healthy kids. And one exciting group are seniors, who, what we have done is not only set up walking school buses so children know that on a set schedule every day they can meet their friends and a chaperone to walk to school, but we've gone out and recruited seniors to make sure that these kids get to and from school, which is not only good for the seniors and their health, but it's good for the community building cross-generational relationships. Change in a community means creating choices at work, but not just in the vending machine. That's the easy one. You know, you may have had the experience of a really bad boss can really make you sick. Well, it's true. We need to create creative, cooperative, good workplaces from a nutritional, from an activity, and from a strategic perspective. It's not just good for people's health, it's good for the competitiveness of our companies in this world. We also go into restaurants and do simple things like make the default fruit instead of fries, and making sure that we look at the sizes of foods. This is Kathy, the woman in the red hair, who runs marketing for a truck stop. Think about a truck stop in rural Iowa. You got the image? Customers, what do they want on their menu? Burgers. But what Kathy did with our encouragement was reverse the order of the sides. So now the fresh fruit and the healthy sides are first, and the unhealthy ones are last. This simple change led to over a 75% decrease in the unhealthy choices and an equivalent increase in the healthy choices. No pricing, no incentives, just presentation. Those simple changes can change our environment to make healthy choices easier. We also need to get people out hanging out with their friends, making new friends, engaging in social networks that make positive habits, so that people 3 away are all working towards a healthier community. And last, we got to get stuff built. Our communities were not necessarily built in the last 50 years to make walking and biking easy. And people say in this economy, not possible, we don't have the money. But here's the deal. We're spending the money on the cement. All we got to do is make it for roads that are a little narrower, the sidewalks a little wider, and the fascinating thing is when we do that, the roads are safer for the cars, for the bikes, and the pedestrians. It's a matter of moving paint and moving cement on money that we're already spending. So how do we do that? It's a matter of creativity and cooperation between the different sectors saying we're willing to try something new. Whether you're the biking advocate, the walking advocate, the mayor, the construction company, the engineer, it's a different way of working together. But then, most importantly, we've got to make it fun, because no one's going to show up in mass to talk about cancer. We just don't do it. But we will show up to talk about having a great life and having a great community. So we need to make it fun and bring people in, pack the house so that they have a great experience thinking about transforming their lives and their community, make it easy for them to sign up, think about what they personally can do to change their environments, and show their support. When we do this, it's possible in a matter of months to start getting new things built. We were able to change the zoning code, the comprehensive plan, and the budgets of a city in 10 months. This is possible. We were able to, within 10 months, see measurable increases in the consumption of vegetables and fruit. We were able to see measurable results in rates of happiness and lower rates of sadness, all because the community decided to read off a menu and work together. Can this really happen? I'd like to suggest that it can. Cities across America every day are competing to host events. Events like the Olympics or the convention or a sports tournament. And when we win those events, we start building things differently. We retrofit buildings, we build new buildings. We get restaurateurs to change their menus to attract those customers coming in for that event. They do it. And then we recruit thousands of volunteers for these big events. We're doing this kind of community transformation because we think it's good for local economics. Well-being improves local economics. So my belief is that we can move beyond changing communities for events to changing communities for our well-being. Kathy, who changed her restaurant menu, got so inspired by the results she talked to other restaurateurs and got other restaurants to follow path. They were able to make more money, increase their customer base, and sell healthier food. But then, because her community gave her a menu of healthy choices, of ways to improve her well-being, she and her husband, Kevin, went to a purpose workshop and sat there and said, well, what would make us happier? And they discovered, you know, we never finished our college degrees. We were so busy being working parents, we never did it. And they both have gone back to college and are finishing their degrees this year while working, while raising kids. Most importantly, their kids last fall told me their parents were happier than they'd seen them in years. Just as busy as before, with a clear sense of purpose and with a community supporting them and a community they were supporting. So I'd like to leave you with this thought. And it's my wish for you. And it starts with your morning tomorrow. So think about tomorrow morning when you get up. You're going to stand up and get out of bed. So, all right, get your head there. Stand up right now. Stand up. This is tomorrow morning. You've woken up. It's tomorrow morning. First thing I hope that you will do is begin to expect healthy choices. And when you go out into your day tomorrow and you don't find them, you need to start creating healthy choices. And get your friends, your colleagues to start creating these choices so they start to happen. And when you begin to create them, what's most important then is that you choose them. Because if you choose them, bit by bit, with you and your friends, you can start to change your communities. And we can start to change our country and start having communities full of well-being, full of that thing we want at the end of the day, so that when you wake up in your community, you, me, and our children will live longer better. Thank you.